Hello everybody, expecting that all of you are in good health and in safe condition. So today we'll start our session now. Today our session will be based on methods of scientific inquiry and division of economics. Like in the previous session, we have started a chapter, and the chapter title was Introduction to Economics. Now in Introduction to Economics, there are three broad areas: definitions of economics, then methods of scientific inquiry, then division of economics. So these three parts, yesterday we have discussed the definitions of economics. Today we'll start with the methods of scientific inquiry. Then next we'll discuss the different divisions of economics also. Now first, in the methods of scientific inquiry, like there are three essential elements in any scientific inquiry. What I said, that there are three essential elements in any scientific inquiry. These are facts, reasoning, and verification. What I said, facts, reasoning, and verification. Now the facts or data are collected and subject to the reasoning and then verified. These three elements of fact, reasoning, and verification are required to obtain reliable result in any field of inquiry. There are a number of methods which are used for framing scientific laws. Okay, these methods are known as methods of scientific inquiry. Okay, now see, in general, what I said, that there are three essential elements of scientific inquiry. These are facts, reasoning, and verification. And based on these, there are some methods of scientific inquiry. And these methods of scientific inquiry are deductive method, inductive method, mathematical method, statistical method, experimental method, method of intellectual experiment, then method of simulation. These are the some methods of scientific inquiry. Now, out of this method, deductive and inductive methods are very, very important and popular method. So we will discuss deductive and inductive method in detail. But before discussing the deductive and inductive method, I will give detail about the all methods which I have just mentioned. These are, deductive method, inductive method, mathematical method, statistical method, experimental method, then methods of intellectual experiment, methods of simulation. Now, among the many, two important methods are deductive and inductive method. So, in your syllabus, we will discuss in detail deductive method and inductive method. Now, coming to the deductive method basically includes classical economics from Adam Smith to J.S. Mill, with the exception of Malthus used mostly the deductive and abstract method. Deductive method also known as abstract method. The deduction method deduces new conclusion from fundamental assumption. I repeat, the deduction method or deductive method deduce new conclusion or draw new conclusion from fundamental assumptions or from fundamental inference. Deductive method also involves the process of reasoning from certain laws or principles. Deductive method also involves the process of reasoning from certain laws or principles which are assumed to be true, which need to be assumed to be true to the analysis of fact. Then inference are drawn which are verified against observed fact. Bacon is one of the renowned economists. Bacon described deduction as the descending process. Bacon described deduction method as a descending process in which we processed from a general principle to its consequences. Now, the deductive method involves some steps or you can say the steps involved in the deductive method. Now there are 3 steps in the deductive methods. These 3 steps are: first step is the formulation of assumption, formation of the assumption or developing the assumption on the basis of which the facts are to be analyzed. On the basis of which the facts are to be analyzed. Then next step is the process of logical reasoning whereby inference are drawn. The process of logical reasoning whereby inference are drawn. Inference is the process by which we arrive at conclusion from given proposition. What I said, what is inference? Inference is the process by which we arrive at conclusion from given proposition. For this purpose, we will go through an example also later on. First, let me explain the 3 steps. Now, the third and final steps relate to the verification of conclusion. What I said, that the third step relate to the verification of conclusion arrived at. If the conclusion agrees with the observed fact, the hypothesis is verified. Okay, now, we'll go through one example also. Like, we can say in practice, deduction method can be applied to all economic problem. What I said, that deductive method can be, applied in any economic problem. Suppose, for example, or we can say, for instance, like, problem to find out how a firm earn maximum profit. What I said, that the problem to find out. Okay, or problem of finding out how a firm earns the maximum profit. How the firms earn maximum profit through deductive method, it can be find out. Like assuming that the firm is operating under competitive condition. We need to assume that the firm is operating under competitive condition. We shall apply the general principle which gives maximum profit. We need to, assume that the principle that, firm is following the principle of earning maximum profit. Now, if the firm satisfies this principle, we shall conclude that the firm is maximize its profit. What I said, that if the firm satisfies this principle, we shall conclude that the firm is maximizing its profits. Okay, now see, I am again repeating the example. Like, we are assuming that how to find out the maximization of profit by an organization. Now, we need to assume that there are some principles through which a firm can achieve maximum profit. Now, we are assuming that the firm are fulfilling all these, principles to earn maximum profit. On that basis, we can conclude that the firm is earning maximum profit. So this is basically the, deductive method all about. Now, there are some merits and demerits of deductive method are there. Like, we'll go through 1 or 2 merits of deductive method. Then we'll go through 1 or 2 demerits of deductive method. Like in the merits of deductive method is very simple. Deductive method is very simple because it avoids the botheration of collecting statistics. Okay, so it's allow that without collecting a statistic also a conclusion can be drawn. So this is basically the simple advantage of the or merits of the deductive method. Then another merits of the deductive method is like deductive method is more useful in a social science like economics where experimentation is not possible. What is the advantage? Deductive method is more useful in social science like economics where experimentation is not possible. Their deductive method are much more useful. So these are, two advantage or merits of the deductive method. Then deductive method have some demerits also. Now among the demerits, one important demerits are like deductive method never easy to test. Through deductive method, it is not easy to test result obtained in economic science. To deductive reasoning, sometimes problems are so complex that confirmation is almost impossible. What I said, that sometimes problems are so complex that confirmation is almost impossible. Like through inference, drawing conclusion is not possible. So this is one demerits or disadvantage of the deductive method. Now after the deductive method, we'll discuss inductive method. In the inductive method, the inductive method involves the process of reasoning from particular facts to general principle. Process of reasoning analysis from a particular fact to general principle. Joyce defines induction as the legitimate deviation of universal laws from individual facts and figures or case to a universal law. Then according to Flower, induction is the legitimate inference of general from the particular, or of the more general from the less general. Bacon also described deductive method, and he said that it is an ascending process. Inductive method is an ascending process in which we collect facts, arrange, and then draw general conclusion. It's very simple, like what Bacon said. According to him, like we need to collect facts, then arranging those facts and drawing a general conclusion based on those collected facts. So this is basically the induction method, where basically it's a process of reasoning from particular facts to general principle. Like we have facts, figures, case. From those facts, figures, case, we are developing a principle, general principle. This is basically the deductive method all about. Now the deductive method also involves 4 stages, or you can say steps involved in the deductive steps involved in the inductive method. Steps involved in the inductive method. Now there are 4 steps in the inductive method. These 4 steps are observation, formulation of hypothesis, generalization, then verification. Inductive method. Okay, inductive method involves 4 stages. And what are those 4 stages? These are observation, formulation of hypothesis, then generalization and verification. Again, I am repeating 4 stages of the inductive method. These are observation. Number 1, observation. Number 2, formulation of hypothesis. Then third is generalization, generalizing the hypothesis. Then finally verification. Okay, so these are the 4 steps inductive method involves. First, observing the condition or circumstances, then formulation of the hypothesis, then generalizing the facts and observation, and verifying those facts and figures, and concluding on the hypothesis. Now, as similar to the deductive method, inductive method also have some merits and demerits, or advantage and disadvantage. Now, out of this, like one important merits of the inductive method are, like inductive method has the advantage of being based on facts and figures and their verification through experimentation. What I said, that this is one main core advantage of the or merits of the inductive method is that it allows facts and figures and verification through experimentation. Okay, or we can say the advantage of the inductive method is allowing facts and figures and their verification through experimentation. Then demerits of demerits of inductive method. In the demerits of inductive method, like one important demerits of the inductive method is like the method is of limited use in a subject like economics, where experimentation is not possible. Okay, now in the inductive method, without experimentation, conclusion may not be drawn. So this is one basically the biggest disadvantage or demerits of the inductive method. Again, I am repeating, inductive method is of the limited use in a subject like economics, where experimentation is not possible. Okay, without experimentation, application of the inductive method in all social science is not possible. Specifically in economics also it is not possible. So this is basically a detail about the deductive method and inductive method. See, there are few methods of scientific inquiry, like deductive method, inductive method, then mathematical methods, etc. Few more I have mentioned. But out of this, you need to be very thorough with the deductive method and inductive method. Now next, we'll move to the division of economics. In the division of economics, we'll discuss three divisions. And these three divisions are microeconomics and macroeconomics. Number one, what I said, microeconomics and macroeconomics. And second is positive and normative economics. Second is positive and normative economics. And third is static and dynamics. Static and dynamics. These are the three divisions of economics. Now we are going to discuss. Again, I am repeating, these three divisions are, first, number one is micro and macroeconomics. Okay, then second is positive and normative economics, and third is static and dynamics. So first here we'll start with the micro and macroeconomics. Economics, like in general, as a field of study which have two branches, namely microeconomics and macroeconomics. Microeconomics deals with the problem at the level of a single household, or a farm or an industry. Okay, what I said, microeconomics deals with the problem at the level of single household or single individual or a farm or an industry. On the other side, macroeconomics deals with the national aggregates such as national income, national investment, aggregate savings. Macroeconomics deals with the whole. That's why aggregate means combination of all, like national income, national investment, or aggregate savings. Aggregate savings means cumulative savings of all the nationals or resident of a nation. The need for macroeconomics arises because what is true of a part is not necessarily true of the whole. Micro means 1/1,000,000th part of an economics system. For example, individual from individual savers. Micro means 1/1,000,000th part of an economic system. Very small. For example, individual from individual savings, individual income, industry, a farm. These basically are the area of the microeconomics. And macroeconomics basically means to very big, or for example, farms. Farms means so many farms, or industries. Industries means more than one industry. Now, the modern classification of economics is microeconomics and macroeconomics. The term microeconomics and macroeconomics were first used by the Swedish economist Ragnar Fish in the 1920th century year. In the 1920 year, microeconomics studies the economics motives and behavior pattern of consumer and producer and the principle involved in business operation of different industries. On the other side, macroeconomics basically deals with the economics in general or economics as a whole, like aggregate income, say for example national income, national investment, then aggregate saving. These are basically the subject matter of the macroeconomics. So see here, to sum it up, microeconomics basically small part of the economy. For example, an individual farm, individual savers, okay, individual income, a single farm, an industry. These are basically area of the microeconomics. And macroeconomics means very big or very large. Okay, for example, many farms, or you can say farms. Then industries, okay, many industries. Next, we'll move to the positive and normative part of the economics. In the positive and normative part, or you can say positive versus normative analysis. What I said, positive versus normative analysis of the economics. The study of economics is classified into positive and normative economics. Marshall studied economics as normative science, and Robbins studied it as a positive science. What I said, that Marshall studied economics as a normative science, and Robbins studied economics as a positive science. Robbins brought into sharp focus the argument as to whether economics is a positive or a normative science. Now, a positive science is concerned with what I said, that a positive science is concerned with what is, and a normative science deals with what ought to be, or what may be. The former is a pure science, while the latter is an ethical science. Thus, economics is a positive rather than normative science. Now, see, simply you need to remember that when we say economics is a positive science, so it is concerned with the what is. It is concerned with what is, means facts, okay, figures. And if we say economics is a normative science, then it is much more concerned with what ought to be things. Okay, so this is basically the positive and normative analysis. In the division of economics, there are three divisions. These three divisions are like microeconomics and macroeconomics. This is first division. Then second division, we have discussed positive and normative, or we can say positive versus normative. Second division. Then third division is static and dynamics. So now we will discuss the static and dynamic division of economics in detail. In the static and dynamic, like we can say that economics is also classified into static and dynamics. Static is not point of rest, or it is not motionless, means static is not stable. In economics, if we say static, that means some movements are there, and which the movements is regular and constant. There is a regular movement, slow movement, and it is constant. Okay. Then On the other side, dynamics means once over change. Once over change, basically, you know, it's a rapid change, quick change. Okay. Now, the use of these two terms in economics is different from their use in physics. In physics, static means point of rest, devoid of any movement. But in economics, the term statics is not indicative of a dead economy or devoid of any movement. The movement is there all through, but the movement is constant, regular, smooth, and certain. Okay. On the other side, dynamic economics refers to conditions where rates of the output are themselves changing. What I said, that dynamic economics refers to conditions where the rates of the output, are themselves changing. Rates of the output are themselves changing. Okay, this is basically the dynamics economics. Now, in a nutshell, like from the today's session, what we have discussed. In the today's session, we have discussed methods of scientific inquiry. Now, from the methods of scientific inquiry, there are, you know, many methods I have mentioned, but out of those methods, we have discussed in detail deductive method and inductive method. Okay. Then next we have discussed division of economics. In division of economics, we have discussed three division. Number one division we have discussed micro and macroeconomics. Second division we have discussed positive and normative analysis. Then third division we have discussed static and dynamic. So this was, you know, today's session, and thank you everybody for participating in the today's session. And in the next session, again we will meet with another topic.